And the expectation is that given their wealth of experience where they come from, that they will share the right insights among us so that we can learn one or two from them. But I'm very sure they will deliver more than our expectation, like a lot of people who are familiar with the accounting webinar, right? So I'll put them on spotlight so that everybody can see them, right? So Quadri and Mujibayo, you can just turn on your video and just put your hands up so that I can easily identify and put you on spotlight. Mujibayo, Quadri, just turn on your video and just raise your hands. It's be easy for me to identify you quickly. Mujibayo, Quadri. Okay, I think I have seen you. Add to spotlight. Okay, Mujibayo. Add to spotlight. All right. So I think, yeah. So you may not be able to see the questions I'll be asking them, but I think they're all well positioned. Everybody can confirm that they can see our three guest speakers, right? All right. I think I should ask you to unmute and ask you to unmute and ask you to unmute. All right. So you can unmute yourself. I'll ask you to unmute the three of you so that basically we can engage and just. Mujiba, I don't think you've muted yourself.
Okay, I have now.
Okay, all right. So welcome, Mujibayo. Welcome, Samuel Joseph. And say welcome, Quadri Adebayo. It's nice to have all three of you on call. And we appreciate the fact that you've made out time out of your busy schedule to be here. And I'm sure that you deliver more than our expectation during the course of the webinar, right? So how the webinar will flow is that I'm going to ask questions based on certain areas. And basically, we'll start with Samuel, go to Quadri, then Mujibayo, right? And if there any time you want to basically step in, just signal, raise your hand, and we can go there. Yeah. So the first part we're talking about is general career path questions, right? So can you share your career journey and how you got started in FP&A? So Samuel, you can start.
Thank you very much for having me. I hope you guys can hear me.
Yeah, loud and clear.
Great. Like Oladele, the host, has mentioned, my name is Samuel Joseph. I have about 7 years work experience in finance and FP&A related. I would say my career in FP&A started in 2017, 2018 in real estate business, and it was a very interesting aspect of FP&A, as I might say. It's overall, like I said, 7 years work experience. I have accounting background. I graduated from University of Lagos, accounting. I'm a chartered accountant too, and recently finished my MBA from Boston University. Maybe I could go into details, but I guess the host will lead more in that. But that's general background of Samuel Joseph. Thank you.
Oh, okay. All right. So Quadri? Hold on, I think you're on mute. Let me ask you to unmute. Hi, Quadri.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. Good day, everyone. As earlier mentioned, my name is Quadri Adebayo. Thank you for joining this webinar. A brief introduction about myself. If I look at how did I join FP&A, it's more like I don't know what FP&A is. I've not heard of it before. It's where I used to work, somebody joined and they decided to create a department, and there was opportunity for somebody to join the manager at that point in time. So that was why I joined FP&A. So just like a summary of how I joined FP&A. So come to my educational background. I have BSc in accounting. I'm a chartered accountant with ICANN and CCA. I have certification from Financial Modeling Institute as a financial advanced financial modeler. So I think that was 2021. So I can say with the help of Mr. Bidemi Joseph. I think he did that. I was on support. So I believe that this whole webinar will be something interesting, and also we will be able to provide a guide on what FP&A mean in practical or what you have read online, and how you can the best way to get into it. So we will be able to provide some guidance on that. I'm so excited joining this call. So I look forward to hearing from the other speakers on this call.
All right, thanks a lot, Quadri. Mujibaya?
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, everyone. I think I started in FP&A. I saw an opportunity, a job opportunity, sometime quite recently, to be honest, in Babangona, or job working at Babangona, and I got in. However, my background had given me a lot of experience in financial modeling and analysis. Basically, I started with investment banking at Cardinal Stone, and I studied that after school. So as an analyst, I had to work on a lot of financial modeling and the likes presentations across several industries. So I think that experience was very, very interesting. And then that facilitated my move to the FP&A role or FP&A role and journey, basically. Basically, I'm a chartered accountant as well. More of my experience has been more advisory, but I've pivoted towards accounting practice now, right? It's FP&A amongst other things. So yeah, that was it basically.
All right, thanks a lot, Mujibaya. So if you're going to look at it in terms of your career path, right? What educational background or certification are most beneficial for someone entering this field? Bidemi, Samuel?
Oh, thank you very much. I would say that, I mean, speaking from my experience and what I've seen across the board, I think in terms of business, like educational background, anyone around accounting, economics, biz admin, finance, can do well in FP&A. I think it's a field that you don't necessarily have to study accounting as much as like other finance or accounting related. So that's about the educational background. In terms of certifications, I would definitely say, depending on the level you're coming from. So take, for example, if you're coming from a level where you are not exposed to financial modeling. Can everybody hear me?
Yeah, sure. Loud and clear.
Great. Great. In terms of where you're coming from, so if you're not, just like my case in 2017, when I didn't know much about financial modeling, my Excel, I'm sure we'll get to that, my Excel knowledge was really close to zero. So if you're coming from that perspective or from that level of experience, I would say in terms of certification, CFI would be most advisable based on my experience. And why is it CFI? Because it breaks down what the modeling, planning, and all relates to, and you would have value in that. But if you're coming from an experience like Mujib, where it's done financial modeling, some level of advisory, I would say that for competence and mastery sake, then you can now start thinking of CFI, which has 3 stages: AFM, Advanced Financial Modeler, MFM, Master Financial Modeler, and CFM, that's Chartered Financial Modeler. So that would give you more mastery on that. And maybe for other, like I said, also depending on your your background, maybe you want to consider an ACCA or a CA, or ACA, that's ICANN, or you want to consider a CPA. And I would just, so that I can allow all my other colleagues to talk. The reason is that over time, people underrate these three certifications, and my experience outside the shore of Nigeria, made me realize that they still want someone with that kind of certification. And the reason, what I've deduced so far is more than 30% of your job will still relate to financial analysis. And one of the ways beyond your technical skills and your competence, like what you can do, one of the things that can affirm that level of mastery is having at least any of these three certifications I've said, like ICANN, ACCA, or CPA, regardless of where you are, like maybe Canada or US. So I'll leave it at that in terms of summarizing it: educational background and certification. Educational background, accounting, finance, economics, biz admin would be fine. Certification, CFI, FMI, and accounting certifications. Thank you.
All right, Quadri. So in terms of background, professional exams, what do you recommend that will be beneficial to someone interested in FP&A?
Okay, for someone interested in FP&A, in your background, it's going to be a plus for you, very chartered accountant. You're a chartered accountant, or you have BS in accounting, or you by any time study any social science like economics. Even if you are good in statistics or mathematics as well, having BS in those backgrounds can be a plus for you if you find your way into accounting department at a point in time in your career. So you don't have to be an accountant by way of degree, but if you be an accountant by writing ACCA, ICANN, which is going to provide you with background accounting knowledge, because being an FP&A, you are going to be talking about financial numbers. So which means there are fundamentals from accounting side that you need to know, which is across the world, all professionals are aware of these fundamentals. So you need to know it. So when it comes to financial modeling, certifications that you need to know. As of today, Financial Modeling Institute is the only certified institute today. CFI, they are more training platform compared to Financial Modeling Institute. So we are going to test your skill for like 4 hours. It's very interesting to be able to at least get your skill certified by an external body that you know it. But how are you going to get to that point? So for me, the first step is try as much as possible to have a background in accounting, whether by training or whether by experience or by way of degree, and try as much as possible to get together with any of the professional body, whether in Nigeria or outside Nigeria. That may be it's compulsory for both accounting and non-accounting graduates that have interest in finance and accounting. So that's it for me.
Okay. Mujibaya?
To be honest, I think the other two speakers, that's Samuel and Jorge, have done justice to it, right? I think, yeah. But I also want to add that I also think that you don't necessarily, that even if you don't have any financial background and educational qualification, but if it's something you're interested in, I promise you it's something you can learn, right? Either by virtue of the certifications that both Samuel or Quadri alluded to, or even just getting in touch with somebody who can probably even, first of all, give you the informal sort of training on how to do some of those things, and then you begin to show that the knowledge where you work. And then from there, you can just, move on to the next level. So it doesn't have to be you don't have to start very, very formal. I just want to put it out there because we have engineers and the likes in the field as well who learned on the job. So thank you.
All right. Thanks, Mujayo. Thanks for adding that coloring, right? So yeah, truly, I actually still support what Mujayo said. So yeah, you may not necessarily have a qualification per se, but at the end of the day, when you interact with FP&A professionals, what you find out is that they are very analytical, right? They know how to play around numbers, and some level they've learned how to interpret or interact with financial numbers, right? So if I see a financial statement, can I comfortably be able to interpret it? They have the rudiment of basic understanding of accounting, right? And typically some of those things come from various means of learning, right? Yeah. So I'm not to but deep dive into that too much. So our next part will be on daily routine, right? And can you describe a typical day or week in your role as an FP&A professional? Bidemi? Samuel?
Thanks. I all really also just point that thanks so much for that statement. Is over time you see people struggling and thinking that because I didn't have finance background or accounting background, I can't fight for that role.
Bidemi, your sound.
Bidemi, I think there's something wrong with sound, like it's echoing. So I thought it was just me from my side, but it seems it's across everybody. So I think maybe Quadri can talk, then we'll come back to you. Just try and just check and see. So Quadri.
Okay, a day in life of a financial planning analysis person. There's a misconception that everybody has that whoever is a financial planning analysis professional, everyday build models. So everybody has like financial modeling. I have to go and learn how to do financial modeling. So it's actually interesting that that's part of the job. I can't lie, but day to day you will be what I consider a decision supporter. That's one of the day-to-day work of FP&A. Everything that happens every day, you always want to be the guy that need to sign off on certain numbers that if the business can go ahead and make a certain decisions. So in broader form, to say FP&A is the guy that supports commercials and price decisions, that supports engineer in productions to buy the right generators for the business from economic value that business is going to gain from it. FP&A is the guy that support the business in cost optimizations. FP&A is the guy that brings us value out of. So all these things happen day to day. So there can be in one day now you can be working on investment appraiser, which everybody knows by way of being something I've spoken about. The other day you can wake up and be building a pricing model, guiding the business on certain decision around what's the price going to be, doing benchmarking analysis, comparing your price with your competitors, so that at least ensure that the business stay in the market. So, and the other day you can wake up building a 5-year business plan for the business, and another day again you can be building a budget for the year. So also you can wake up one day supporting business decisions around getting funds from the bank, cash flow projections and the like. So all these things, some of them happen on daily basis, some of them happen every week, some of them happen on monthly basis. So that's like a summary of what an FP&A could be working on, maybe daily, monthly, or weekly for me.
All right, thanks a lot, Cody, for that. So that was really nice. Samuel, can you confirm that your sound system working properly well now?
Is it better now?
No, it's still same thing. All right, Mujiba. So I think we'll just go to you. So yeah, what's
I think
the life of a FP&A?
I think to a large extent there will be a lot of echoing of what everybody is saying, right? So
yeah, true. Very true.
For me, I think for an FP&A person, I think we probably have maybe in finance, probably have one of the most unstructured in terms of daily activities, right? You wake up this morning and you are told to do this analysis, right? And then that's what you spend your day doing. The way I like to see it is that so from my own perspective, there is the weekly activity. You have the weekly activities, which are sacrosanct, the monthly activities, quarterly activities, and maybe annual activities. Weekly activities, you are comparing the previous week's performance against the weekly budgets, right? Did the team meet up with what they were supposed to do? What was the variance? What needs to be done? Which products did not meet up, or which service did not meet up with that, right? When you're doing the This you are presenting to the leadership of the organization. At the end of the month, you are doing the same thing, right? You're looking at the monthly performance versus your monthly budget, right? Trying to compare. So all that work happens maybe at the beginning of a new month, right? You're doing all those analysis, and then you need to now know, oh, okay, do we need to rejig the budget, work on the budget again, do some number crunching and all that. And then annually, of course, at the beginning of every year, or no, not beginning actually, towards the end of the current year, you start working on the next year's budget. That can be very time consuming. It could take you a month, 2 months, depending on how large the organization is, right? Now, those are sort of activities I think that's regimented and sacrosanct that you do constantly. But on a day-to-day basis, activities just come, right? The business department, development department wants to onboard a new big customer and is asking for a discount. What is the impact of that discount on the profitability of the business? You have to carry out the analysis on that day. HR wants to hire this person. Is it within the budget? Oh, okay, it's not in the budget. If we bring it into the budget, what is the impact on profitability? You know, things like that that just come in on a daily basis. So, like I said, for me, a day is just open mind. I start my day with an open mind that analysis can come, especially if there's no open item. However, there are some structured things you do at the end of the week, at the end of the month, quarterly, and annually, which I typically expected from the FP&A professional.
All right. So let's try one more time and see if Samuel's sound system is okay.
Yeah, is it better now?
Yeah, it's better now.
Yes.
All right.
Oh, great. Thanks. I mean, I think they've all said it, honestly. That's typical of FP&A professional. Largely, I maybe 50-50. I may not have, done the analysis to weigh in terms of the routine and the ad hoc, because also putting in context, depending on the organization you are in, let's say you're in a startup or you're in a mid or structured organization, there are things that would be largely unstructured that you're trying to put in place as an FP&A professional. So like Moji said, our role sometimes is not really structured, as much as, yeah, there are things you do on a daily, monthly, quarterly, or yearly basis. There are things that could come in. I remember in my case where we just woke up one day, and because of the economic condition, and it was, oh, we're going to build some dorm or hostels, as the case may be. And I wanted to know what the implication would be in terms of cost implication, financing, and the revenue impact in the future. So there are things that could just come up that you need to attend to. So thanks.
All right. So I'll just quickly do a quick summary of what they've said. So what I hear them say is that it could be unstructured because of the kind of work they do. However, key for what they do is that they're involved in terms of helping the business make the right decision, right? So that right decision could now be on different buckets. You could hear pricing decision. So what price should we price a product at, such that we're able to ensure we get the best value out of that customer? You hear things about cost-benefit analysis. Should I rent a gen vis-a-vis, or should I buy my own gen, right? Should I potentially hire a truck for transportation of my goods to customer location, or I should buy my own truck that will help me do that logistics service, right? We talked about investment appraisal, right? Let me assess, okay, investing in these products, is it worth it or not in terms of the value I will get? So at the end of the day, the FP&A helps the business in making decision now that would have futuristic implication on the business, right? In terms of either profitability, liquidity, or performance as a whole, right? I hope I've kind of summarized it in a way. Yeah, then I forgot to mention budgets, right? FP&A person is involved in helping building the budget, right? And basically interacting with very senior management to ensure they make the right decision. Yeah, are we together? Okay. So from your own work experience, right? And I think I'll start with Mojibayo this time. In terms of key tools and technologies you use regularly. So what are the key tools and technology you use regularly?
Okay, I think maybe I'll consider myself one of the old school. I mean, young but old school in mind. So,
Okay, go.
I still think the ultimate tool for the FP&A guy is the Excel. It's the Microsoft Excel. Yeah, it's the Excel. I mean, yeah, over time you're introduced to other apps, maybe like I know there's something called Data Rails. There's this other one. I can't remember the name of that one that we sent something like that, right? But I think ultimately Excel gives you that dexterity. It allows you to manipulate data in a way I think that it's more yeah, it allows you to manipulate the data in a way that suits whatever it is that you want to get, right? Yeah, so I think for me, a key tool still remains Excel, right, in terms of the building. Over time, I know that in this time and age, there are more advanced things which I think are good for also the reporting part of the financial planning, because that's the key aspect. Whatever you do, you have to report it, right? You begin to have things like the Power BIs and the likes, right? The Tableau. But yeah, I still think Excel is still king, in my opinion.
All right. Yeah, thanks, Major, for that. So Quadri, do you want to add some coloring to that?
Yeah, I will agree with the bio that SST like the most used for FP&A professionals. However, why is SST most used is because of the nature of our work that is unstructured. So nobody has been able to successfully build a system applications that can help me do pricing analysis across multiple industry. That can help me to come up with sensitivity analysis or cost benefit analysis. So which I can easily achieve with Excel. So most of the applications out there, they tend towards building models and annual budgets, which is still a bit complicated. One of the one I've experienced with, and I consider it not worth paying for my own view, is percentage. So I've seen it, and I consider it like investing in it, maybe because couldn't get a value from it. So compared to, and I have to pay less for Z and still achieve it. But maybe those there are several applications available today. But what I can tell you, what can they do for you? They can be a supporter of FP&A in combination with Excel. What did I mean? So it can help you probably prepare latest estimates, annual budget, various business plan. So, but these things need to be designed according to your business needs. So can you easily run different scenarios on it? Some of them face limitation around that area, but they can be a supporter to probably reduce mistake of error that likely to happen from Excel because there is a manual way of building the model. But can they stand as a standalone for the FP&A professionals to be using is a no. So today, but it can support you in by having a turnaround on time. Most of them have like different planning module in which HR can go there and enter their own data. Production guy can go there and enter their own data. You can integrate with your existing accounting software and pick easily historical data into your model. So there are many of you. I think there is Bodano, there is Sente, there are many of them. But if you look at them, you have to create what we call master data, like every other accounting package. You have to maintain GL, you have to do all those things. It's like a sub accounting package, which is what has limitation. Even the strongest accounting package today still cannot meet the need of accountants. So why we are still using the same some things for accounting. So that's for me. So let's take the greater percentage why there are other technologies that can be used to support it. But for me, I use Excel most time because Excel make my life easy.
Thanks for that, Quadri. Samuel?
Yeah, honestly, yeah, I think it's the same what Mojid and Korea said. The nature of our job is largely unstructured, except for the routine building budget, 5-year plans, and that's where all this software modern percentage comes in. So Excel still really dominates. Interestingly, looking at FP&A roles outside the country, Nigeria, I've seen Excel as one constant tool that has dominated those requirements. I think the other part is why Excel is good for doing all the the modeling, the price decision, the cost optimization. There's another aspect of the tool, which is the intelligence, because one of the things that we do as an FP&A professional is also providing insight based on historical data. And like Moji said, tools like Power BI, Tableau, Autoris, Oracle Business Intelligence, and SAP, these are tools. But if you ask me among these BI tools, which one are mostly used, I would say it's Tableau and Power BI. So for insights, intelligence, Power BI and Tableau, it's what I mostly use in the space, and then Excel with other modeling tools, softwares like Modano and the likes. Thanks.
All right, thanks, Samuel. Thanks for that. So I think we'll go on to our next question. This is talking into roles and responsibilities within the FP&A. Right. So Samuel, I'll start with you on this. What are the primary responsibilities of an FP&A professional?
I think for me, the primary responsibility, I would classify them in maybe about four. Number one is the forecasting and budgeting. So as the FP&A professional, your responsibility would be to do forecast, budgeting. We've talked extensively on that. The second one would be to develop strategic initiatives in terms of short-term planning and long-term planning. So you want to consider what would be our position in the next 5 years, long range plan. That's the second one. The third one is I would say providing insights and providing insights generally. So take for example, if you're in manufacturing, you want to on a regular basis say what's the best product, what's the loss leader, well, why is it the branches making losses, the regions making losses. So those insights are based on historical data, and which you'll be using like the tools that we mentioned. Excel too can be used to provide those insights, but depending on the volume of data, when the volume of the data starts to become very large, it's definitely advisable you use those Power BI or Tableau. And the last one I would say is the ad hoc reporting. So ad hoc reporting is that anything, like you could be asked to do anything, like Mojiba and Quadri said. You could just wake up one day and say, oh, we're trying to open a branch in the north. What would be the implication? We'll start looking at basic aspect of it, the manpower, the regulation, many things, and you are your department is that department that would be saddled with that responsibility to map out in terms of developing the strategy and executing it. So this I would classify under ad hoc reporting. Thanks.
All right. Thanks. Thanks, Bidin, for us. Quadri, so what would you consider the roles and responsibilities of an FP&A professional?
FP&A role, many things they do, but we just try as much as possible to put on that 3 or 4 category. The first one, for me, FP&A president have to definitely to manage business performance. So, which come with different things that you do on monthly basis or quarterly to tell the business the truth according to the number, so that they can know where we are. It can be in form of analysis of using different ratio analysis or doing profitability analysis, customer profitability, profit center profitability. It can be a lot under the business performance management. So you had to tell the business how the business is doing at this point in time. The other one, which is very popular, everybody talks about it, the budgeting and planning, forecasting. So that's what most people know that FP&A does. And that this is something that happen. There are two cycles to it. One is annual, one is maybe review at the point in time, which is more like forecasting to like 5 years business plan. So this does not change every time. It's just changing based on the current situations, and some parameter is not to change as well. So this is very popular among people. The third one, which I consider FP&A do like, is this like even the strength of FP&A is even why FP&A is one of the reasons why FP&A exists is decision support. Decision support is the reason why FP&A exists, because so business make decisions every day. They make decisions around why they need to raise debt over equity, why they need to acquire a business rather than starting the business afresh, why they need to go into a country. So all these things, it can be like, and in the end, when making decisions, we need to build a model, like 3 primary statements, but it's still founder of that. What am I trying to do? I want to make a decision. I want to make a decision whether to introduce a new product. So it's like the strength why FP&A exists combined. So if you pick decision support and you pick performance management, these two are the reason why most business set up FP&A. Budgeting, budget has always been around for a long time. It's always been around for a long time. People can do 10 plus 10% of last year and budget for the subsequent year. So it has always been around for a long time. So, but if you see who is an FP&A, the guy will tell you your problem when you are going to Ghana and what you need to do different to enter Ghana. So that's it for me.
All right, Mujibaya?
Okay, so I think I 100% agree with what Samuel and Quadri have said. I think the most interesting part of being a financial planning and analyst professional is probably those side day-to-day ad hoc activities that Quadri have said. Decision support, right? How do you support the decision? How do you so for example, how do you analyze the sales to know which product is giving the highest margin and which should be pushed more than the other? Do you understand? Things like that, right? All those it looks like those analyses sometimes do not take so much time, right? And they are not so overly complicated, but those are the things that you do your roles, and that's where you begin to see your importance, and that's where they begin to feel your relevance, right? When you begin to say, oh, instead of pushing this product more, why don't you push less of this product and push more of this product to get better margins? Stop this, stop that, and things like that, right? So those I think are the key rules. Like I said, the budgeting, the finance. Once you build a financial model, maybe 5-10 years, that is built already. All you are doing is updating it from time to time. The budget, once you build a budget for the year, at most you're updating it at the end of every month, right? But on a day-to-day basis, it's those decision supports, those new decisions that are about to be made, or decisions you don't agree with. I think another thing about the FP&A is supporting. You might feel like certain things are not going the way they should. It now falls on you to provide the data to support that thought process, right? And then present it to your superiors. So I think those are kind of the roles that make the job more interesting, and that comes with time as you understand the business more and more. So yeah.
Thanks, Mujibaya. I'm just looking at myself 5 years ago or 7 years ago, that I wish I had a webinar like this. I'd have had a jotter and just be filled with a lot of points, right? But thanks a lot for these insights you've given to us so far here. So next question, right? Most likely, maybe I'll start from Mujibaya. I'll say, how does the role of an FP&A professional differ from other financial roles, such as accounting and audit?
That's a very interesting question. I think what makes it difficult for me is that I've not been an auditor before, and I have not been a pure accountant, so I'm not sure. I'm very, very familiar with it. But I think what I can say in terms of where it differs is, I'm not sure the auditor or the accountant is so much bothered about the analysis and the implications. I may be wrong, but about the implications of certain decisions. I think for the accountant, it's more of recording and ensuring that the books make sense and it's tight. Everything is accounted for. Whereas, and that's more historical, depending. Whereas for the FP&A guy, it's looking more into the future. What should we do to make things better, right? How should we, the only reason he's concerned about what has happened before is just to see a trend, or as the case may be. He's just more forward-looking, forward-thinking. Oh, we did this last year, what should we do? It's less of entering of journals. You'll be surprised that you could be an FP&A professional without so much knowledge of IFRS. That's the truth, right? You could probably do that with just the working knowledge and not necessarily a deep knowledge. So, yeah, I think I'm just going to pass the buck of that question to Quadri and Samuel, who probably have my friend.
All right, so Samuel, do you want to add some comment to that?
I think to a large extent, Mujib has covered it. I think if you separate the three of them, accountants or accounting looks largely about the past. In practical sense, yeah, you report the data like through the journals and all of those, and you produce your financial statements, that's balance sheet, income statement, cash flow. But an FP&A professional takes it further that, okay, even the past you've reported, what insights can we draw from it? What were the things that led the performance in terms of revenue, in terms of cost? An FP&A professional goes deeper into that past. Then and in addition to that insight from the past, it then say, look, this is based on what you've done and information I have around both quantitative and qualitative, this is what the future is looking like. And that could come in various forms. So an FP&A professional is, based on that explanation, is different from an accountant. In terms of audits, obviously, an auditor, it's obviously just checking, did you do what you meant to do in line with established rules? So be it internal audit or external audit. Internal audit more encompassing in terms of, let's look at your compliance, your policy. Did you follow those rules? That's internal audit. Or external audit would come, possibly check those things that internal audit have done, but not as detailed as internal audit. So I would say that, yes, an FP&A professional is different from an accountant. But I will also want to mention one of the things we've said in the past, that you would see something that is important. An FP&A professional checks the past based on my explanation. So it means that you need to have understanding of that past, be it as provided by the accountant or as provided by other departments, maybe sales report and the likes of production report. So yes, it's different because you're looking at more into the future, but it's also important that your role has a bit of what the accountant will be doing. So I will leave it at that. Thanks.
All right, thanks, Samuel. So Quadri, do you want to add any flavor to this stew?
Okay, all thanks to Mujibayo and Bidemi. I'll try as much as possible to explain it too. What I'm just saying, that FP&A is that guy or anybody within finance team that can talk about the numbers in the past, identify the issues with the numbers, what business has done wrong, with evidence that somebody in production has decided to waste the raw material, and the production yield is a drop from 30% to 15% because the conversion was lower. So FP&A will be able to pick that one. But an accountant, we're probably going to be more concerned about compliance. So I'm supposed to recognize revenue according to IFRS 15. So I'm supposed to recognize certain PP according to IFRS 16. So I'm supposed to do so more of compliance and finance operations. So that's what a financial controller does. They manage treasury, they shall ensure up and run of finance departments. which is more financial operations. So when it comes to auditor, is also compliance person, ensure proper revenue recognitions and the like. So why doing FP&A? You are as well doing all these things. So you can model a lease repayment without understanding what IFRS said about the lease payments. So you can't recognize revenue without understand how the revenue recognition is being carried out in actual sense. So you can project a certain production numbers without understanding how the BOM works, how the accountant has been doing their work. So a step further is that FP&A knows what the responsibility of a financial controller is, even though they are not doing it. So they know how they calculate interest costs, how they provide for interest costs on monthly basis or annual basis. So all the parameters that a financial controller in a company used to work, FP&A has the number understanding from one, like very deep understanding of this. That give them a leverage that if you put an FP&A to step into financial operations, they surely going to prepare their account and it's still going to be the same thing that financial controller is doing. But can financial controller take a step forward to be an FP&A? So that's the subject of competency, if the person has the strength to do it. Or I can take an FP&A person to be my financial controller. So I can do that. So that's it.
All right. Thanks a lot for that. So I think we've been able to take like almost like 4 rounds or different sets of questions. So basically, so far we talked about roles and responsibilities. We talked about daily routine, and we talked about general career paths, right? So let's give participants some opportunity to interact with us. So at this point, do our participants have any questions? Any question? You can just inquire by raise your hand or a message in the chat box. Okay, good. Okay, so let's start with Ahmed. Hi, Ahmed.
Hi.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, sure, we can hear you loud and clear.
Yeah, good afternoon. Thank you very much. So first, I think the key point, one of the key points I've picked so far is that for someone to be a good FP&A, the person must have a knowledge of financial modeling, right? And then one of the speakers made mention of something, said someone can learn on the job. Even the person doesn't have maybe accounting knowledge and the like. So I'm just having a kind of concern around that. I want to use myself, for instance. I work with one of the Big Four, so I usually get some of this invite. I think some of the clients they normally push me to join their income team or something like that. So I always ask for the job description. So in that job description, I normally see something like forecast, budgeting, support business decision, strategic planning, which I don't really have knowledge on that. So my question around that is that how can someone transition from being an auditor to FP&A professional without having all those experience in those areas, like all those planning, forecast, budgeting, strategic planning? How? And what are the challenges that the person can face if the person will just take up those roles?
Okay, all right. So if I hear you correctly, how can one transition from audit to FP&A? And how can one learn some of these things that you stated, right, in terms of budgeting and forecasting and analysis? Yeah?
That's correct.
All right, that's good. All right, so I've taken note of that question, and so that we'll get our panelists to answer them. Yeah. So let me unmute the next person. Hello? Hello, Chikwadu. Can you unmute? Hello, Chikwadu. Hello? Ikechukwu? Ike, I'm asking to unmute, but you're not unmuting. Okay, let me go to the next person. Afis?
Good afternoon, Mr. Ladili.
Mhm.
Thank you for this great opportunity. Mr. Corey and the discussant, we appreciate you. I just want them to throw more light. I just want them to throw more light to this issue. As a sitting accountant, we are qualified accountant. Most of us, I now learn a deep knowledge. Like even if you are doing financial planning, you are doing budgeting or forecasting, it's not even your role now. Let us just take it as it. But can we? I understand now that accounting is trying to do a training for us on budgeting and the likes, which is going to come on the June 15, which is going to be a good one, which I know a lot of people will join to have the experience. Are you telling us now, even if we are doing it in the respective of our offices, can we tell them that they should create a department entirely, advise them to create that, or we should continue doing it, or we should learn more in terms of the tools and skills to give us an edge? Because already we are doing more as normal accountant, doing posting, management accounting, and the rest. We are still going to monitor budget and forecast at the same time. Please, I want them to show us like if we can, if we should deviate from that place, or we should continue learning more. Thank you very much.
All right. So if I get you right, what you're saying is that should the business create a specific department, right?
Yes.
May call it FP&A, whatever, that is focused
Yes.
around budget and decision support.
Yeah. Because I believe it's most of the tools, even every accountant should try and understand and get now. Because I know like a couple of months ago, you've been doing advertisements about budgeting, forecasting, trainings, and the rest like that. And I trust that you are going to do justice in that aspect for us all accountants. Are we going to, because now I'm now seeing that it's different ball game now from these experts, from these people that are coming in, like accountant is already doing much. Do we advise our employers like, Oga, we're already doing too much, so it's better we have FP&A for better performance and the rest? Thank you very much.
All right, Afis, thanks for that question.
Yes.
So I think I'll go on to Gani. So I'm taking note of your question so that I'll go back to the panelists and get them to trash it out. So Gani, hello Gani. Hello Gani, I'm trying to unmute you.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, Gani.
Okay. Good evening.
Yeah,
Sorry. Thank you so much for the insightful messages and knowledge I've heard. So actually, I want to ask a question. Personally, I'm actually a student of University of Lagos. I am in my final year, and I've not had any experience like trying to like figure out what to do after school and after graduation. I'm actually planning to take my ICANN when I'm done with school. So I just wanted to ask because somebody actually recommended this FP&A thing to me and I saw it on Instagram. So I was like, oh, let me just join to see if I'll learn something about the FP&A. So I just wanted to ask, like, as a student that's like about to graduate, what can you advise me to do? Yep.
All right, thanks. So basically, if I hear you correctly, as a fresh graduate, what you advise in terms of career to
Yes,
FP&A,
yes.
right?
Yes. Okay.
Okay. So let's try again on Ikechukwu or Ikeoko. Sorry if I'm pronouncing your name wrongly. Ike.
No problem about that. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you clear, loud and clear.
Okay, no problem. Thank you, Accounting Yard, for bringing this information to our doorsteps and also the panelists who made their time available to make sure that we're impacted knowledgeably. My question goes like this. I'm taking it very personal. Okay. Myself, a little bit in my late 30s, and I just started this finance and accounting prospect career path. 2 years ago by picking up my ICANN exams from the foundation. And now I really want to know if the panelists can give me a realistic view. Someone at my age who is yet to even get a certification, but who has passion on finance and accounting. And I just got to understand that the accounting and finance, financial planning are two different perspectives altogether, in such a way that the financial planners take a step further, look into the future, unlike the accountants who look historical. In a case like me, what practical advice or realistic terms would they give to me? Hello?
Yeah, I hear you. Right. So you're looking at it, you want a realistic advice on how you should go about FP&A or what?
Yes, like if I want to go into that sector, because actually I had a goal of becoming a business consultant. Okay, so that's why I started to pick up the accounting foundation from scratch. Then I'm trying to look for a structured program to get to where I'm going to. And from the look of things, FP&A will be very valuable to me. But in the realistic sense, based on what is obtainable, industry-wise, what is the future? Or if I'm to get there, how can they structure a program for me to follow to be faster, more valuable, and realistic?
All right.
Because out there are so many programs, so many information out there, and you can't do everything because you will burn out. Okay, but having a structured plan, okay, I do have a structured plan, okay, but if they can give me from their own input, from their experience and expertise, okay, I'll be glad to know that. Thank you.
All right, thanks a lot, Ike. I've taken note of your question. So let me move on to Shegun. Hi, Shegun.
Hi, good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Thanks very much for the opportunity. And I must say I've been able to learn 1, 2, 3 countable insights from this particular meeting. So my question goes to us. For organizations that have specific departments, let's say for treasury, they also have for budgeting, and some for who are business finance experts. For this kind of organizations, is it advisable for, like, let's say, someone for this organization to collapse all of these units into one, and probably make it a financial FP&A department? So that's my question, basically. Having different units, different departments, and since, for instance, budgeting, treasury, and the business finance expert, is it advisable that you collapse these different departments into FP&A?
Okay, all right. So I guess your question is a little similar to Afi's question. I think Afi's one is saying, they create a department for FP&A. You are saying, should they collapse some departments together into FP&A? Right? Like treasury, budgeting, should they collapse all those departments into one? Shegun, did I get your question? All right. So I think the next question is by is it Tony or Tommy? Tommy, let me ask to unmute before I go to the chat box.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon.
It's Tommy, you are correct, Tommy Ayatayo.
Yeah, okay, yeah, hi.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. It's been a very exciting one. Since the day I stumbled on one of your videos on, I think was a personnel cost or so, accounting, I've been following closely because it has been very, very helpful. Now, on this FP&A, I want to ask, for now, is there any regulatory body or is FP&A as a section of the finance industry? Is it operating under any form of regulatory standard for now? like the panelists have explained before, I understand the job can be unstructured, that you wake up, you don't have, there's no particular set plan for this is how it should be, this is for this part of the Mondays, for this part of it can just come up at any point in time, and then you respond to that, and that can make the profession very challenging. Now, I want to ask that is there a guide that usually followed in order to achieve whatever they are working towards? Or is the need, just like we have a management accounting, that is the need of the organization or the particular need that would determine what to be done? Or there's a standard? Hello?
I get you.
So that's the aspect I want a clarification on, whether there's a standard that is guiding it, or maybe the need of the organization that demands the job of the FP&A professional that will determine the path to toe while performing their task. Thank you.
All right, that's fine. Thank you very much. More questions. I'm about to go to the chat box. So I'm worried though. If I continue, okay, so let me just take the top two now, then I'll go to the chat box. Otherwise, we'll do this webinar for 4 hours. Okay, so hi, Desmond.
Hi, is my sound better now?
Very clear. It's better than mine safe now. All right. Shoot.
Okay, fine. So two things. What skills? What are I would say top 5, top 3. What top 5, top 3 skills someone that wants to like break into the FP&A role should have? And lastly, where I work currently, like my goal is to transition into FP&A. So where I work currently, we don't have that team yet. Although, so my goal is to push that, okay, let's kick off an FP&A team here in this company. So I'm saying if I want to kick off that team, what are like on a basic level, what are the things that I can start with? Maybe creating budgets per department, blah blah blah, just stuff like that. Do you get my idea?
Yeah, I get it. So creating an FP&A
Right.
team, what does it
Just
entail?
yeah,
Yeah.
so from the base, if someone with very little knowledge trying to break in wants to just kickstart that team, how do I start? Because I'm hearing decision support, performance management, and I feel like those are very, very far. So on a basic level, so how do we start something like that?
All
So
right, no
yeah,
problem.
that's all.
Quick response to your skill. There's a section we talk about it because you have other questions I'm still going
Okay.
to answer. So I would think
Okay,
I'll just
fine.
stop at Rafiat now. Then we'll move to we'll go to the panelists so that they answer some of the questions we jotted down.
All right, fine.
All right. So Rafiat.
Good evening or good day to whatever time zone you're in. Thank you so much. I have 2 questions. The first one is based on some recent trends on shifting the accounting mindset to be finance business partners, where since we have tools or let's say softwares that can automate the reporting process and it should provide strategic insights. Also in line with what Quadri said, where the financial controller can be an FP&A analyst, can be a professional in FP&A, or a professional in FP&A can also be a financial controller. So based on these recent trends, do you see FP&A merging with financial reporting as one role? And is it going to be relevant in future years? Then my second question would be my train of thought. Okay, let me just ask that first one. Thank you.
Sorry, repeat the question if you don't mind. Just summarize the question. I can't hear you anymore. All right. So anybody have not on mute, you should not be annoyed. All right. I'm not taking your questions for granted. Just bear with me. All right. Let me just quickly run through the chat box. What are the qualifications for an FP&A person? I think we answered that question in the beginning of the session. What's in between budget, forecast, and projection? All right. Good day. Please, I need to know the advanced training learning advanced Excel before learning FP&A. What are the top skills an FP&A should have? Okay, we'll answer that question. Please, what are the certifications you have to have an FP&A professional? I think we kind of answered that on during the early side of the webinar. I also want to ask about internship for undergraduate and fresh graduates. Please, how do you access the recorded session? The recorded session will be on YouTube, right? Hopefully by tomorrow. How does FP&A certification different from FMVA? Need to drop, please, where information on your next training on this WhatsApp group. Let's see. Now, no, what it's saying is that should it be case for last it's one made into one. Let's see. Which one out of all will be merged into? I'm not going to understand that part. I can't unmute. And gets the difference between thin corner FP&A. All right. So coming back to our panelists, right? So that they could generally answer some of these questions. So instead of allowing three of them to answer all three, I think they can each person just answer one so that we don't waste time. So the first question that came up was, how can one transition from audit to FP&A, and how can you learn budget forecast and analysis? So I don't know if anyone wants to answer the question. Samuel, Quadri, or Mujibayo?
From audit to FP&A, is that what you said?
Yes, how can one transition from audit to FP&A, and how can one learn budget forecast and analysis?
Okay. If you, let's say you're auditor within an organization, not let's say
An external auditor. The person in question is an external auditor.
External auditor. Okay. So as an external auditor, so your best friend within the consulting firm is people in due advisory. So they are the one that does something that look like FP&A. So do you get? So they understand something that has to do with periodic functions of FP&A that has to do with probably like M&A, margin and acquisitions modeling, financial modeling, advising the business and setting strategy. They do that because they have industry experience. So how can you move there is probably like say you have interest and your company can probably like find a way to take you there. So you cannot join them by way of training. So, but you can join. What I mean training, like watching YouTube video or going to writing different exams. You will have those skills, but you won't be able to demonstrate it practically. And what gets you a job as an FP&A person is your practical experience. So, but you probably like me approaching the line manager that you have interest in this area, that you don't mind going there. If something that they want to give you that chance, you join them, you learn on the job. So that's the easiest way for you. Will you be able to get FP&A job moving from audit firm to an organization, a manufacturing or service company? Whoever is employing you is somebody that understands FP&A will not give you the job because you don't have the experience. So it wasn't part. It's not going to be a case of you have ICANN or you have been an auditor before, but because FP&A require thinking, your own thinking, your past experiences, but based on what is IFRS 15 said, what is IFRS 16 said. So, but if you talk to those guys in your advisory department, they understand business valuations, they understand due diligence, they understand how some numbers change. Even though their own knowledge is also boxed into whatever engagement they have worked on. So they can't do anything on performance management, but they can advise business on strategy. They can advise business on coming up with business plan and how they could go. They can do market research. So, but when it comes to corporate organization, FP&A go beyond strategy. Business support is day in, day out. You can advise better if you work in a company. Then they advise based on what you supply to them. So their business knowledge is like limited information is available to them. So that's how it is. The easiest way for you move from audit to advisory, the advisory department, and you start learning the job. Another opportunity for you get a graduate training job in FP&A if you are still new, like 2 years into the job. If you join some investment banking or some organization that want to get accounting training that have 2 years experience, if you join, you are going to learn on the job. So that, I think for me, that's what I think you could do.
All right, thanks.
Yeah.
I think I'll just add some element of flavoring to what the person is expecting, kind of. So I think that, yes, a simple way to transition is to transition to your deal and advisory within the Big Four, right? But you also need to prepare yourself, right? So which is basically upskilling yourself, right? So for example, if you want to transition your deal and advisory, if my Excel is very poor or something, it's going to just really throw me back. So what I would generally suggest is take your time to build your knowledge in Excel, right? So that it's above average. Take your time to take courses on financial modeling, right? For example, you can try FMI to start with. Yeah. Good enough. I know that the Big Four usually have very good e-learnings. If you reach out to those in deal and advisory, I'm sure there are e-learnings you can actually access from your learning portals that are tied towards FP&A, financial modeling, deal advisory, so that you can build your knowledge. So that when you transition to those units, it doesn't take time to basically adapt or adjust, and so that you're able to meet up with them. Otherwise, when you go there, if your skill level is not yet ripe in certain areas, what will happen is that you get frustrated and you go back to where you're coming from. But if you build like the foundational knowledge, that will be good for you, right? Good enough. The reality is the world is a global village, and there are a lot of learning resources you can learn from, right? Udemy is a platform you can learn from, right? There's this platform called F1 to F9. It's a very good financial modeling learning platform. There are a lot of them. Sometimes just being able to sift out the good from the great or the bad from the good, right? For example, even on YouTube, as YouTube is, if you check YouTube very well, you get very solid content. But the problem is that not a lot of people know how to identify what is good, what is bad, and what is great, right? So I'll give a classic example. One of the best resources on valuation, right, is by one professor in, I think in Stanford or so, and he actually has a YouTube channel that explains valuation better than in most other places you can ever think of. Very practical and very rich, right? So yeah, you can use that to set the foundation, then work towards transition to like your deal and advisory or investment banking or places where they have something close to the FP&A role, which can leverage on them, build on that. Yeah. So the next question is, should we advise for them to create a department for FP&A? So Samuel, Mujibayo?
Okay, I think in that scenario where if I can still remember the question very well, you have an accounting department where there's no FP&A, and then but the accountants or those accountants in departments are doing more than the regular accounting functions, and it's beginning to go into FP&A. I would say it depends. And what do I mean that it depends in the sense that depending on the business, when what you start to churn out begins to add more value and the management, the leadership team can see it over time, especially when the head of the accounting department, maybe head of finance, CFO, controller, whatever the name is, when they start to see the implication or the impact of what you guys are doing in the department, logically, it would be created. That's number one. Two is, if logically it's not being created and you're really adding those value like business insight, decision support, ad hoc reporting, as you may what we've said in the earlier part of this webinar. If depending on also your level, let's say you're a senior associate or you're an analyst, you can start to advocate for such. Because sometimes, like just typical of life, the promotion or something, some don't come naturally. You have to fight for it. So you can start to advocate that, look, there's need for this department to be created. So that's the other part of it. I think largely that's where I would look at it, that logically, depending on the value you're adding, you would see it naturally coming out. Like, for example, my last role before, I went for my MBA, that was a similar case. And then the other part where you have to fight for it, that, look, this is what we are beginning to do, which is not typical of accounting function. I think we need to create such thing. But if you look at the both scenario, it still boils down to the value you are adding. It is just budgeting, it is just analysis. If it's more than that and the value is same, it's something that would naturally come out.
All right, thanks, Bidim. I think I'll just add some coloring to that. So to define value, right? So at the end of the business is most businesses are into the business of making profits, right? So value from the perspective of value is basically a cost benefit to the business. Now, if you see a business that basically their annual turnover is maybe 100 million, right? The people that make up finance are basically just maybe 3 employees, right? The business just does the same thing every year, no real change of strategy. They just buy and sell, and that's what they do, right? The probability that they will create an FP&A unit is very slim, because they're not making any serious business decision that has an implication in terms of their profitability or liquidity, right? But if you say a business that is doing annual turnover in excess of 1 billion, right? The finance unit is already like maybe 6 people or 5 people, right? There's a high probability that kind of department may consider having an FP&A unit, because where business is big and they may see the value of an FP&A person, they don't see an additional cost, right? Because the honest truth is that the FP&A person is not cheap in terms of salary, right? It's not, you're going to go and pay him 200,000 naira, no, right? Most likely, if you see an FP&A person as experienced, you most likely see a person earning over 1 million naira, right? And from that perspective, that's already 15 million plus in terms of excess, in terms of salary. So from that perspective, right, what would happen is that the business needs to be able to see that there's a value that the person is bringing based on the size of the business. Because sometimes some of the decisions that the FP&A person may pinpoint can result in significant change in terms of profitability of the business, or can even turn the person into a loss-making business because of a wrong decision, right? If they don't take into consideration. And the reality is that the bigger the business is in terms of, for example, turnover, the more complex the business is. So some very simple decision that you say, oh, let's increase price by 10%, right? It can have a very devastating implication on the business that can impact the business performance, that the board can potentially sack senior management if they're not careful, right? Thirdly, when you're having an FP&A unit, typically what happens is usually a tone at the top. The CFO or the head of finance is someone that appreciates and sees the value in FP&A. So sometimes when you have such leadership, it's very easy to convince them to create a unit when you're also demonstrating value. So if you check very well, when you see FP&A in most businesses, go and check very well. There's a senior person up the ladder that appreciates the value of FP&A and knows what they bring on board into the business. So when you put all this into perspective, can help you in deciding whether we should create an FP&A unit or we should continue. Because trust me, the business is small. There may be no need to do an FP&A. If it's not considering scaling or growing, there may not be a need to do an FP&A. If they're just doing the same thing year in, year out, what they're just doing is basically just some price adjustment and they're fine. And then they're not expanding, they're not growing, they're not adding new products. The reality is that most likely, the honest truth is that it's just routine, and potentially the FP&A person may not be required. Yeah. So I think the next question was, as a fresh graduate, any advice in terms of the person interested in going into FP&A? Anyone?
Okay. Yeah, let me just, I would, so that I would also contribute. I think the first place to start is, as you're going about going with your ICANN, I think you could also take some of these CFI, the FMVA courses as well, right? And begin to build that skill such that you are able to include it in your CV or resume, that you have skills in financial modeling and the likes. Also, you begin to consider jobs. I think a good way to go would be, yeah, you can consider jobs, regular jobs, or you could also consider advisory jobs, financial advisory jobs, because that gives you some sort of knowledge, and it's a quick win because from the very beginning, you're already exposed to financial modeling, financial building, financial analysis, and that thinking process, right? So you can have that in any of the top four organizations or in any of these boutique investment banking firms, right? So you begin to look for jobs within that that space. I think you could also, I mean, it wouldn't hurt to take courses like the one Accounting Yard is organizing in a couple of weeks. Also take the FMV, try and get the necessary certifications so that you can add it to your CVs and the likes. Yeah, I think that's one way to start that process.
All right, thanks a lot, Mujibayo. So I think the next one is, I'm in my mid-30s. Any realistic advice into FP&A, right? The person is considering, oh, I want to go into FP&A. I think it would be a great value add for me as a consultant. So what's realistic advice to give to such a person so the person can quickly get up to speed and he can demonstrate practical knowledge in terms of the FP&A?
Okay, Cody, do you want to go?
Go ahead. I'm listening.
Yeah, I think, I mean, if I still remember the question, it was the person that started, I can't remember the level where the person is. But regardless of the level, I would say that similar to what we've said, which you might think, oh, that's for an undergrad or something, because of the level you're coming from, no accounting knowledge before that, you're taking accounting, I would say the starting point, or in addition to your first decision, is increase your Excel knowledge. And one of the ways is going online, all those learning platforms. Excel knowledge is very important because that's what you'll be using in modeling, doing some analysis that you use through Excel. The second advice is that with that Excel knowledge, which most probably CFI is a corporate finance institute. After you complete the training, the certification is FMVA. So when you move into CFI during the learning process that gives you the FMVA certification, you would be exposed to a lot of things like some Excel training, some modeling analysis, how to prepare budget. Like, if you ask me, for anybody without any modeling experience, I would say CFI is your go-to in addition to your Excel knowledge. Because why CFI? Because it gives you that practical training, practical handholding from the beginning to the end. Then that's about the technical knowledge. Then you also want to add it to, like, I used to think that, oh, yes, it's not 100% fact, but largely something that's been proven to be right, both within Nigeria and outside. People want to want to validate your experience and know through certification. So yes, you know it, but have you done any certification to, confirm that knowledge? So that's where your FMI comes in. That's where probably other professional certification, maybe CFA, depending, and others. So I would say that with your ICANN, moving to doing your Excel knowledge very more than advanced, or more than below average, above average, and then adding CFI and possibly one or two certification would in a record time move you to the level where you can, number one, work as a top person in the finance in an organization, and ultimately help you to start your business as a business consultant.
All right, thanks
Yeah.
for that. I think one thing I'll just add is that a quick way to quickly get familiar in terms of the FP&A role is potentially see reports or models that have been built that people within the FP&A role. Now that experience, it's not something that people see, but it could go a long way. By the time you pick up, oh, someone has done a pricing decision, a pricing model decision, and you look through it, you walk through it and understand the rationale, how it was built, right? If you want to recreate one, because you understand the thought process, you'll be able to recreate one for another business line entirely, right? Or you see the financial model for one sector. If you can walk through the model, as in like, it's like you're auditing the model to say, why did you do this? What is this function doing? What is this particular scenario doing? By the time you walk through it, it will give you the thought process, how the person who was building that model was thinking through. And I think that is one very practical way of building skill and competence related to financial modeling. Because what I've noticed is CFI is good, right? It's a good way to start. But to be very honest, I've seen a lot of people with CFI, as in with the FMVA qualification, and you'll be shocked and amazed that it's like they just did it to tick the box. Oh, I've done it. Let me just tick the box and let me go on. But the honest truth is that after doing this exam, there's a lot of things that still needs to be done, right? And that's where it comes. That's why they say you cannot separate the practical experience of building model or working through models or that day-to-day actually doing it. You can't take it out from someone. That is where the capacity building and the experience comes into play, right? For example, if I was interviewing someone for FP&A, I can just ask the person, okay, how many pricing model have you built? How many budgets have you built? Only from that answer alone, I can already envisage how experienced or how thorough a person's knowledge is, right? If someone is telling me within a year you have built 6 models, clearly you know that person is not just playing. Do you understand? But if you saw that in the last time I built the model was 3 years ago, which is what typically happens for someone with CFI. After the CFI exam, they build the model, that's the end, right? Then one thing that we've not really spoken deeply about in terms of FP&A is that a lot of people within the FP&A space, they have a very vast knowledge in terms of various industries, right? And it helps them a lot because the reality is that most times you need to be able to break down information into small chunks, and that ability to analyze or break down information into smaller chunks, like ask probing questions. Why do we do this? What's wrong with this? What are the options available to this? How does this impact this? Those questions help you frame down certain things that you translate into Excel. Because the reality is that if you don't know how to ask the question and translate those questions into something within Excel in a simplified and that depicts what the situation on ground, then you have a problem, FP&A. So you also need to that probing skill to be able to thoroughly ask someone a question such that at the end of that, your interview or that session you had with the person, you can translate it into a small model, either a pricing model, a decision support node, a decision-making model, an investment appraisal, right? Because at the end of the day, you should be a master in that topic, right? As good as the person who does that particular task, that's operational person in very granular details, and you can replicate it. Yeah. So go to the next one. The next question was, it said, is FP&A regulated, right? In Nigeria, is FP&A regulated? I'll say short answer, no, right? I know that within the ICANN, what they call that thing, faculties, there's something within not FP&A, but there's something that is kind of related to FP&A, but they have a faculty within ICANN. That's the only thing I know of, right? But there's no regulation. I don't know if anybody has any contrary opinion in terms of regulation in Nigeria or even globally, right? The only thing I can say, there's this body, right? They call him FAST, F-A-S-T. Because of a lot of people build models a lot, they kind of bring in best practice in terms of how you build models. And basically they stand as a standard, right? So invariably they are similar to how you have IFRS, right, for financial modeling. But yeah, I can potentially Google that and share you the link, what's called FAST, right? But yeah, that's what I'll say from a global standpoint. Yeah. Does anyone want to say anything in terms of
Okay.
regulation?
I think I remember when the person asked the questions, and I really don't think maybe the person is talking about regulations, but what the person is talking about, in my own understanding, is that the person is trying to get a hold of, okay, because we said our work is not structures. So why what's the format we follow? What is it like there's a way we have to present data? So I think that's what the person, that for instance now in accounting, management accounting, there are different styles across different business, how they present income statement, balance sheet, and the like, which they are likely to be trained through ICANN and the like. So, and also on experience, they will see how it works in reality. But for FP&A, it seems like there's nothing like that. As you said, like there's a standard some people agree on that which you follow when preparing certain documents. But when comparing to accounting, which is financial reporting, there are things that accountants follow in how they recognize revenue, all things that they do. So I think that's the question the person is trying to ask. And my only reaction to that question is this: if you have by any chance have written ICANN performance management or management accounting, you will know there's no structure to that particular exams. Everybody take different approach and get the same answer. Do you get? So you can present yourself in a table format. I can try to do my own like mathematics. I shall probably going to get cost per unit, apportionment, all those kind of things that happen in performance management, which there is no control, there is no structure to it. So your experience with planning, it will be a major factors to you. And being a professional, there are ways you need to present data to the users for easy understanding. So you will be a judge. You'll be a judge in your own case, and your experience over time you are going to improve. If you cannot be a manager of FP&A without you must have passed through that stage of preparing a particular document in a format that is not presentable. Somebody else correcting you. You learn over time to know this how to present a number. There will be time that you present number in graph, in table, in different formats, in charts. So to communicate your insights that you are able to discuss, picked out from the numbers that you analyze. So just see FP&A like the way you answer questions in your performance management. So, and also even I think I can too, they will probably give you a sample on how you answer the questions inside the textbook, but some people will still go the other route and they will still get the same answers and they will still get marks for the same mark. So but if once you get into it and you work with the right people, or even through the training itself, you see how CFI presents some numbers. So all those things, if you watch YouTube, you see how they present. If they're talking about break-even analysis, they will show you how they present it. If you're talking about price analysis, they will show you how you can present it. So all form of analysis, if they're talking about seasonality, they will show you how you can find out those numbers, how you can present it to these of the numbers. So those are the things that you are going to pick on. You're going to pick from different sources, and in the end, you design your own way of working, and your experience will also play a major role how you communicate your numbers.
All right, thanks, Quadri. So I saw a chat, someone saying that there was a professional body. If you can drop a message with professional body, that would be nice, right? That within the FP&A space. But what I know is you have professional exams like FMI, right, which is also like a body on its own. You have what we call the FAST standard, right, which basically tries to structure how things are presented in terms of financial models and all, which is something guide. But if there are bodies, why not drop it? I'm sure we can all learn one or two from it.
I think the person is right, but it's like they are not. I don't think they are really popular.
Okay.
Every other person will probably going to see them as like accountant professional body like ACC and ICANN. So they are not really popular, and I don't think they're more like they have a test, like you write the one level test, second level test. So they don't have strength of accounting professions as of today. So I think there is something like that, but I can't remember their name. I think there is something, I've seen it somewhere before.
Yeah, it's Association of Financial Professionals. It's in Maryland, US.
Oh,
Yes.
okay. I also know that a lot of like accounting bodies are also creating something within for FP&A, right? I remember sometime last year, I can't remember who posted it. I think it's this lady that wrote Financial Money for Dummies, when talking about when they said something in Australia, right? So I guess what's happening is that various accounting bodies are recognizing the importance of FP&A and financial modeling. They're now creating special units and even exams, like part of the exams to become qualified, they include something around it, right? Yeah, and most likely I'll check something on the accounting body in Australia and actually also drop it here. Yeah. I think the next question, just to follow so I don't go deep too much, is what does it entail to set up an FP&A unit? Yeah.
What does it entail?
To setting up an FP&A unit.
No, go ahead, Mojib.
Okay, I mean, so in my experience, I've not, so most of the finance departments I know and I've worked in do not necessarily just have this FP&A segregated unit standing on its own. It's typically a part of the finance department. You might just have, just like the way you have your accounts payable officer in the finance department, you have maybe your treasurer officer, you just tend to have your financial planning manager and maybe one other analyst, right? Not many organizations have more than 2 or 3 people doing that role. Not many, some do. So I think the first way of setting up is first of all by just doing the role or doing the work. Either you get someone to come and do it, or someone already in that department decides to just take it upon themselves. Okay, I'll start doing this analysis. I'll start doing this budgeting, and then you start showing the results. And then I think by the time, I think Samuel alluded to something like that, by the time they see the output, then you can now say that, oh, to make this more efficient or whatever, perhaps we should mark a couple of people to just focus on this. In rare occasions, some investors in businesses will typically request for it, right? We want that role to be giving us regular updates on how the business is performing and the future and all of that. But in the absence of that, I think, I don't think it's something you just say, oh, I want to set, I don't know, you might, but the best way might be to just have 1 person or 2 people or who just take up that responsibility. And then over time, you now, just create that niche within the finance department. I don't subscribe to it being outside of the overall finance department. So.
All right. Thanks, Brian.
Thank you.
You want to say something?
Yes, just to support what Bayo said. The whole thing is, the bigger the organization is, the bigger the FP&A team will be. So a business like Airtel now, they have a department they call decision support departments, in which they have somebody who is the head of decision support. So, and decision support is basically FP&A. They just give a different name in Airtel. So if you go to Lafarge now, they have a planning unit. So it's in summary, they will not it's still going to be part of finance, but in finance that will be financial control, that will be FP&A. So and whoever is heading each of the team will report to the CFO, which is the most senior person in finance. So in a small business, they can have just like a manager. Even sometimes the manager reports to FC. So in some places, so which depending on the scope of the work. But most time in a bigger organization, they have FP&A stand alone. In the organization structure, FP&A will stand alone. Financial controller will stand alone. Both of them report to CFO, and the business partner to CFO, and the rest of the senior management. So I think that's it.
All right. So